Hey everybody, welcome back to NickyT.live. I'm your host Nick Taylor, and today uh, I forgot to ask how to pronounce your name, Bjorn, but I did take a semester of German, so umlauts I'm familiar with, so uh, we can correct right after. I usually ask this before the stream, but is it Bjorn Buettner or
Björn Büttner. It's very close. So you're
okay? Oh,
you're
Bjorn.
it's
Okay.
you're close enough, don't worry.
Okay, Bjorn Buettner. Okay, and before we kind of dive into things, I'm curious. What is is it Idrinth or Idrinth? Is that a nickname of yours, or what is
That
that
is
exactly?
that is a nickname that I use everywhere online because well, I played a high elven swordmaster in Warhammer Online in something like 2008 or
Okay,
2009 and got the domain at some point and it's just stayed with me.
okay. Yeah, no, it's kind of funny. Like my handle everywhere, it's Nicky T Online, and it's a pretty boring story. But uh, when I played rugby, like people when you play sports, they typically call you by your last name, like hey Taylor, pass the ball or whatever. Uh, but uh, somebody gave me the nickname of Nicky T, and then I came up with the very terrible idea that I'll just call my handle Nicky T online, but it's kind of very redundant because you are clearly online if you're on somewhere. But I never changed it, and I just basically it's always available everywhere, so I just stuck with it. So
Yeah,
not
same
as
here
good as
pretty
the story
much.
as Warhammer. Yeah, yeah.
That's a
No,
huge benefit. I think I found one thing where it was not available, and then I later figured out, okay, I had an account already.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Um,
it's like I have yet to find somewhere. The only place where it wasn't available was on Replit, and it's because I had created an account with that handle at one point, and I can't remember what happened, but it was tied to like an old work email, and I couldn't remember I like before password managers, like I typically knew what my password was, and so like I kept trying it, and then like I just couldn't figure it out, so I just gave up. So I think on Replit that user is still there, but I think my handle over there is something like Nick T something. It's something very generic with a number at the end. So a little disappointed, but oh well. Life goes on. There could be I could definitely have a lot more worse problems in my life than not securing a handle on Replit. So yeah.
Definitely.
So that was a very long-winded side tangent, but for folks who might not know who you are, would you mind saying a little bit about yourself? Kind of, I know we've known each other for a little bit. We chat in Discord a lot and in the streams, but for folks who might not know who you are, mind just saying a bit about yourself and maybe even how you got into tech if you want to?
Yeah, of course. I'm a software developer. I've been developing software for 17 years, professionally for 14 years, 14 and a half, I think by now. Need to check the dates, but that might be pretty close, that
Okay.
celebration. Um, And yeah, the way I got into tech is pretty easy actually. I picked a study or study topic that I thought had everything I wanted to learn in it, which
Okay.
led to a huge name as well: medical informatics and biomedical engineering.
Yeah.
And I found
Okay.
out later on it was pretty much a management course,
Oh, okay.
which I was not interested in at all. And on top of that, they managed to somehow lose my sign-ups for the exams. So at
Oh,
that point,
okay.
I switched out and just did the one thing that made was the most fun out of it, and that was programming.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, it's yeah, I went to university, and it was I honestly like there's people I knew from high school where like they knew exactly what they wanted to be. That was not me. Just also wanted I said I wrote on in the chat to the everybody, but I just wanted to say hello on the stream. Hey SD, hey Violence Vine and Jellycat, thanks for joining us. Always appreciate folks in the chat. um yeah, I just really didn't know what I wanted to be, and I'm a little older, and when I was in high school, they used to fill out you had to fill out a career form, like fill out this survey and we will tell you what your your ideal job is. And mine apparently was cheese maker for some reason. Don't get
What?
me wrong, I love cheese, but it sounded like they wanted me to become a monk. I don't know, because like um, where I live in Montreal, just if you go just outside the city, there's a lot of rural parts and there's a lot of monasteries, and there's like a few monasteries where they make cheese, they make beer, they make like apple pies and other things with fruits. So it's like, who knows? I guess if I had listened to them, I could be making cheese in a monastery right now. But that didn't happen. So I just kind of went with whatever. I didn't know what to do, and then my cousin recommended this computer science program, and I was pretty decent at mathematics. I I kind of grew up when the internet kind of started, so like I was, Notepad and HTML and JavaScript and CSS all in one file on Windows, and I don't know. It grew on me more after I finished university, which I found kind of funny. I'm more engaged in learning now than when I was in university. Is like university was more just like playing rugby, and uh, that's about it.
Yeah. For me, university was just pretty annoying at some point because I spent more time running after professors to have something signed than anything else.
Yeah, I'm
So,
laughing in the chat. Esty's saying, "I'm glad he didn't become a monk, Nick." Yeah, me too. Nothing
yeah,
against monks. We need cheese. Um,
definitely. But yeah, I also like cheese by chance. I do have. I don't think I have anything else right now in the fridge but cheese.
that's not a bad problem to have.
No.
There's
I
yeah,
also have
no.
bread, but so I can eat bread and cheese, so all good.
Oh yeah, no, it's like I feel like cheese could be my downfall. This is now a cheese stream for anybody just just joining, but I don't know. It's really good. I mean, but they have a lot of artisanal cheeses like where I live too. So like there's one I like. It's called Oka, and it's like it's a ripened cheese, but it's not. I like other stuff too, like a hard like a strong cheddar and stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like cheese could be my downfall. Like if somebody left me alone, like in a cheese factory, I'd probably be like, "How did this man die? He ate too much cheese." So,
Yeah.
anyways, cool. Well, I know as much as I love cheese and you love cheese, I know we're not here to talk about cheese all day, but yeah, we were chatting a little while ago, and we were looking to get this stream happening, and I found the title very interesting. We're both maintainers, and so working in open source, and I'm curious about your experience in open source because the title you kind of chose was a maintainer story. Managing to code is rare, and I've kind of experienced a bit of the opposite, but it could have been also because I don't know. Yeah, just curious, like your thoughts on that. Like you obviously code because you're building a product, but curious why that title resonated with you, I guess.
Yeah, there is a lot more to maintaining than just coding. You end up as the dev rel, for example, for the project. If it's a dev project, you end up
Yeah,
as the actual community manager if you have a community. You end up as the mentor of people that are contributing because there is no one else in the beginning, at least, who can
yeah,
mentor and help out. And yeah, it just uh, uh, adds up. You also are the one who makes all the decisions, which also takes time because most decisions you can't just make from the top of your head.
yeah.
And
No, for
yeah,
sure.
it's so going over my open source timeline. I think I spend most time with helping other people code at the moment, as in guiding them in some way, shape, or form. If
Okay,
depending on code reviews and chats with them and stuff like that.
okay,
Um, Also, face-to-face calls, similar to what we have now, just without the stream. Um,
okay.
but yeah, that seems to be my major focus at the moment. times when I actually get to code is usually when something breaks badly and
Oh,
it
okay,
needs to be
okay.
fixed right away.
Yeah. It does depend too. Like I remember, and also I know we're not talking about cheese anymore, but Jellycat is a big fan of mozzarella, and I quote mozzarella, my beloved heart emoji. So um, we clearly have cheese fans here, which is great. But no, I
Uh,
I do understand what
Jellycat,
you
I
mean.
know. He's from my
Oh,
Discord.
okay, okay. It's the first time I think Jellycat joins, but thanks, Jellycat. Um, yeah, it depends at what stage or what's going on in the project, I guess. Like I also know, like, I mean, when I was working at Nullify, I was working on open source stuff on the frameworks team, but there were times where I wasn't pushing code. I was doing a lot of code reviews or sometimes doing some mentoring, um, occasionally writing a blog post. But yeah, it really does vary. But you've obviously built out a product that we're going to talk about. And maybe you can kind of introduce what the project is, and I'll drop a link to the site and stuff. But um, what's your what have you been working on? That's kind of like your main focus right now.
Yeah, for about 4 years, I've been trying to make the developer experience better when it comes to monitoring and measuring performance of APIs, REST
Okay,
APIs mostly. So that is the major focus.
cool. All right, and I'm gonna
The
just load up the site
goal
here.
is pretty much oh, you are in light mode. Okay.
Oh, okay, here we can
We
go dark mode.
Yeah, it does detect what your system settings are. At least
Oh
it's meant
yeah,
to, and then it goes to light or dark mode by default.
yeah, that's what I
Um,
have. I have the system setting, so if it was nighttime, we would have seen it dark right away. So cool.
Esther is not happy. I see that. Um,
It's kind of funny. I mean, I was yeah, media queries for sure. Yeah, it's funny. Another side tangent, but like I've been using my editor mainly in light mode lately. I was using dark mode for the longest time, and then I don't know. I just switched at one point, and I still go back sometimes. Like I use the if I'm in dark mode, I use the Astro theme called Houston, but it varies. But I'm on a light mode kick at the moment, so.
I do prefer my dark mode to be honest, but that has more to do with me often sitting in areas where the light mode is really shining.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay, yeah.
so like in my living room, I only have one lamp at the other end of the living room, and you notice light modes then a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it does depend, and like at least most laptops I've used do not do well outside in the sun. Like uh typically reflects like even a good like even my MacBook the M2 that work gave me, it still reflects. So like dark mode can definitely help in those cases, but yeah, it depends, I guess. Classic senior response.
Yeah, definitely. That is something I would expect from a senior engineer, to be honest. It depends
um
is always a good answer because you
yeah,
need to
yeah.
take some time to think about the possibilities.
Yeah,
I
cool,
actually
cool,
never
cool.
had a senior title, to be honest. Never wanted
Well,
one.
well, that I'm sure you're a senior developer. You've been doing this for a while. Yeah, the whole topic of titles is I don't know. I never used to care about titles. Like I would always used to tell people like, it doesn't matter. You can call me potato or whatever. And the the reason why I started to care more about it wasn't so much for me, but it was more other people who don't like. I mean, I'm like a white guy in tech, which I mention a lot because there's a lot of things I don't have to worry about and stuff. And but the thing is, like, uh, people who aren't white guys in tech, they have to go through a lot more, and fighting for a title can actually mean like better pay and stuff. And even though like I've made good salaries and stuff, like I typically haven't cared about the title, but that's kind of why I care about them more now. It's like I said, less for me. I mean, it does feel nice to say, like, when I was at Netlify, I'm a staff engineer, like, it does feel nice.
Yeah.
And I was qualified, but, like, that's kinda, like, the main reason why I kind of, uh, care about it more now. It's yeah, it's more for others, I would say, uh, but also
It's
whoever's paying me, feel free to send me as much money as you'd like.
Nah, for me, it's more the way that other people can interact with you. I've noticed that a lot of juniors are pretty afraid to talk to a senior and try to find
Yeah.
someone else instead. And that is one of the main reasons I didn't want a senior title. I did have the offer
Yeah,
before. I do get the pay as well, so that's not
yeah.
the issue.
Yeah, I can understand that sentiment. I think it's on people in senior positions to make themselves as accessible as possible though to others, and like, just kind of setting the room that like it's okay to ask questions, and it's like, people make mistakes, it's like I don't know. I remember when I was very junior and I made a mistake and I was like, "Oh my God, like this is terrible and stuff." And then
I'd be
it's also
fired
different. Yeah,
in an hour. That was my instant fear when the first time I made a big mistake in a customer's website.
yeah, yeah. And like obviously it's not great that those things
Of
happen, but they're learnings, and but it's also different times too. I find there's more mentorship now. Like I didn't really have mentorship. I'm like this, like, cuz like I was my professional career started in 2002, so like YouTube, I think might have existed at that point, but like Google was pretty new. Stack Overflow had, I'm not sure if Stack Overflow had started yet. It might have just started. Like for context, like Google Chrome only started in 2009. So like there's a lot of things. It was just different, and like uh I don't know. I think it's great that there's a lot of, I mean, I enjoy helping people, but I feel like that was something lacking in my own career early on, and I've honestly not really had mentors aside from more recently implicit stuff, like talking like with my CEO B Dougie. He's like just a really great storyteller, and there's like a lot of wisdom there, like and it's not like it's like I'm the CEO, you're the dev kind of thing. It's just they're just genuine conversations where it's like not asking for mentorship, but you grab the knowledge where you find it, kind of. But yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, if for anybody who's just starting out or earlier on in their career, I would definitely stress, don't be afraid to ask questions. People, I would say in general, are there to help you. If you end up working somewhere where that's not the case, maybe that's just not a good place to be working, but who knows. It depends.
there are places where it's not a good thing to ask questions, but yeah, it's getting less, I think, at least from my experience as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the oh, my autocomplete in YouTube comments isn't completing, or I spelled Estee's nickname, not her handle. That's their handle, that's why. Um yeah, no, I think it's less and less, and there's like, there's still like people who aren't great in our industry, but I'd say a lot of companies are definitely doing better with that. There's still work to be done. I don't know. I've had a chance to work at a lot of great places. Very appreciative of that. I know that's not necessarily everybody's story, but yeah, I think you know the whole landscape's kind of weird at the moment. I think the job market, hiring process, there's like all kinds of things. It's like all over the map. But
Def-
but I definitely think there are great companies out there that they're not your family per se, but because that's a whole other thing. But like, if you can find people you enjoy working with and the work is interesting, that's great. So, and those places exist for sure. Um,
Definitely. I did meet a couple of those places during my career as well.
yeah. So, I don't really have a segue to bring us back here, but we were kind of
Uh,
talking about.
I do actually,
Okay, yeah,
because
go for
that
it.
project got inspired by one of my workplaces. I
Okay,
was the person responsible for all performance measurements for all
okay,
products and all performance improvements that need to be done. So that was like 12 in the beginning, 20 or something like that in the end. And I needed a tool where I could actually set someone to that tool and they would
yeah,
get started easily, which was not the case with everything I had at that point in time, so 4 or 5 years ago.
okay,
And
okay.
that was
So
pretty
yeah,
much why this project got started at all, because it just implemented everything that made your life easier from my
okay,
perspective, and seems to have made it easier for others as well.
yeah. I think that's how a lot of projects come into existence. Somebody has a pain point, they write some code, improves their lives, and then I guess depending on the organization you work out at, if it can be open sourced, it's a potentially good thing to do, which is what I'm assuming you did since your project is open source.
It was
Um,
open source from the beginning.
okay, that's great.
I didn't do it in work time, so they had
Okay, okay,
it was open source was fine by them, and which I want to shout out. That's HMM Deutschland,
yeah,
which because they are very happy about letting you do stuff outside work,
okay.
if you want to. And
Is it
yeah,
this site?
yes,
Okay,
looks horrible, but the company is it's pretty nice.
okay. I'll just drop it in the chat for anybody interested. Cool.
They work a lot with Angular and PHP actually, if that
Okay,
didn't change in the last year.
okay. So, so it sounds like that was a great place because like you were doing this on your own, but they seem to be in favor it. One, I guess, because it's helping your actual work. But aside from it helping your actual work, were they fans of open source and they encouraged you to do this, or was this just like the side effect was like, hey, I've been working on this open source thing and it's helping me at work. So
Uh, The later more like that. They have
okay,
open source stuff. They have allowed people to open source stuff before, but it's not a major focus because a
okay,
lot of what they are building is very custom and very related to the business logic. And open
okay,
sourcing that obviously makes little sense or from a
okay,
business
gotcha.
perspective.
Okay, cool, cool. I forgot to mention before the stream, if you see me looking to the left, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just looking at the chat. And I'm also gonna just drop the live stream in a another channel where I'm at. So let me just go grab that for folks. Here we go. Actually, I'll just drop the Nikki T dot live. Just doing. When I go live, I drop it in a few Discord channels I'm in, but I forgot to drop it in my virtual coffee community. So just gonna drop it there, and let's bring this back up. Um, Yeah, okay. All right. Just gonna say, hey, I'm live talking open source with Idrinth. Come hang. There we go. Cool. Um, yeah, so okay, so like you were saying, it was the latter, so they were like, okay, that's great that you're doing it. Oh, and Este's saying, Este has a making a funny comment. Cat videos, we know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
secretly the only reason why I do these live streams is so I get an hour and a half of time so I can watch cat videos during work hours. So,
Uh,
thank you, Open Sauce, for letting me watch cat videos. um,
Regarding shopware, I
yeah.
honestly have no idea. That site
Okay.
changed since I left, so they might be shopware by now, but I
Okay.
don't think so.
Okay.
It's, um,
What is Shopware anyways? Is that just like
it's a platform. It's pretty
oh
much
okay
a platform for selling things.
okay like
Um,
a e-commerce
it's
platform
it's
just
an e-commerce platform that's pretty widespread. It has its
okay
drawbacks, it has its benefits, but you can also build pretty good websites with it.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I figured shopware it was like e-com stuff, but yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Um,
CMS, I wouldn't call it one because the focus is
it's more the
on
catalog
the
of
shop,
products and
on the shop. So the CMS is just a side benefit of it.
oh, okay, okay, gotcha. Okay, cool, cool. So yeah,
And
so getting back to you, sorry, go ahead, Idrin.
yeah, well, I also wanted to get back to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you've been working on this for about 4 years now. You had a pain point at work. You're like, I'm working on performance of our API, maybe other things. So you started working on this project, and I guess before we get into the project, uh, just like to ask, like, was there nothing out there that provided what you were looking for, or was this more like a have a problem right now, but I also want to learn something, or was it a bit of both, or
a combination of both. There
okay,
are other tools out there, quite a lot actually, like 20 or 30 other tools that do parts of what this one does,
okay,
but they usually are either paid, which I had no budget for,
okay,
or they end up with a difficult developer experience. Sometimes they have bad documentation, sometimes they just
okay,
have very small documentation parts where you need
okay,
to jump between different products to or different projects to figure out what it's actually doing.
okay,
And it was just really hard to get someone else to do something with that
okay,
because they didn't know where to start, pretty much.
okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so it sounds like this tool is pretty comprehensive in terms of testing out your API. And I'm just looking at here, so like, why use a benchmark runner? So a lot of this is load testing, it looks like. Um,
We
what's
have
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
content test is integration, content and it is integration tests pretty much.
Okay. Um, and I'm curious, I know what load testing is because I've done it. But what is content test runner?
The
That
content
I'm not
test runner
familiar with.
is pretty much doing integration tests at that
Oh,
point.
okay, okay. Okay. I guess I don't think I've ever heard that term. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm
And
not sure where it comes from, to be honest. I need to double check it's the history.
okay. I'm gonna drop a link to the demo video just to save people a few clicks on the website. If folks want to check that out. So, okay. So basically, API bench is it's a load test runner. It's a content test runner. Um,
And
that
the
seems like a lot
benchmark
of things
runner.
already.
Yeah.
And a benchmark runner. Yeah. Okay.
So the benchmarking is more along the lines, did my API behavior under normal load change? That was my
Okay.
main focus of the whole project, because that was the fear that pretty much my employer had. We do a
Okay.
change, and somewhere in the millions of lines of code, there's a side effect that we didn't think about.
Okay. Okay. I
And
see. I
suddenly
see.
it gets way slower or way different, at least. And that
Okay.
was the original part. That's why it's made named bench. That's where
Okay.
it comes from the benchmarking.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so I guess with the benchmarking, you create an initial baseline for your API or set of APIs that you consider adequate, and then that's 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 kind of like the target, or
Yep.
how do you go? Okay, all right,
Yeah, you can do
interesting.
that. You're not forced to do that. You can just measure and compare yourself. We are working on the on a web front end to make it visible in a nicer way, so graphs
Okay,
to show you how it develops, how it turns out. If you want to go to usage, you can
okay,
see the output formats as well.
okay. So
Uh,
like results here.
Results exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'll zoom this in a
So
bit.
we have a CSV that's standard pretty much. We do have an HTML file that you could throw into an email if you wanted to.
Okay,
The
CLI
CLI
output.
gives another table. JSON is not formatted by default, but could be formatted.
Okay,
There's a couple of options to output stuff already, and some of them are databases, by the way. So you can
Okay.
already throw it into databases if you want to and do comparisons there.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and SD in the chat saying this looks cool. So, okay. Okay. X-ray on Jira. I guess that's some a way to integrate it with Jira tickets, like if there's a
Exactly.
change in benchmarking or performance.
Yeah, exactly. It would create a test for you. X-ray has a test as a specific issue type and
Okay.
would then say it fails and well will create the failure for you and the overview of
Okay.
what succeeded. And
Okay. So,
you can of course extend the whole thing as well. So there's nothing stopping you from that.
okay. So like a concrete example would be like we have a baseline. Um, I just pushed a fix or an improvement to an API. It goes into a pull request. There's a CI/CD pipeline that says, okay, let's run the benchmarking, or maybe it's once it's merged into production, or is this caught before, like in terms of X-ray? Um,
Depends
okay,
on how you set it up. It a lot of the time you need the actual you need actual data amounts to make noticeable differences because for 10
okay,
lines of in an SQL database or 10 documents in a MongoDB, you will not notice any performance changes really.
yeah, okay, true, yeah. So okay, so let's just say at some point, the performance, or sorry, the benchmark, it's below what we consider the baseline. So it goes, oh, that's a fail. Let me go create a Jira ticket associated to
Exactly.
that failure result. Okay, that's pretty nice in terms of integration, I think, because like it's one thing to say like, oh yeah, like our performance regressed. Let me create a ticket for that, and so on and so on. And then this way, it's just automatically done, which it's not a big lift to create a ticket, obviously, but like the fact that that's automated, then it's like I think that's just a nice touch.
Yeah, and the whole
And
thing just works based on your environment variables, so you don't need to do any code changes to
okay,
add that reporter.
okay. And so say we have custom results here. So this is I'm assuming this is TypeScript. So like
Yes.
we have this interface that we need to implement. So we get a reporter. It gives us the results, and then there's like a path, I guess, where it was written to, maybe. Um,
If you
okay,
have a file reporter, that is where you're meant to write the file.
okay, cool.
That is pretty much the idea of the root here. It tells you where is your project directory, where is your workspace.
Okay,
So you don't need to care about that manually, you just get it automatically.
okay, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've kind of talked about what the project is, what it can do. We've taken a peek at like some of the outputs, depending on what makes more sense for you. Um, and it's also nice that it's you have the different outputs, because like maybe somebody like a product manager or product owner would want it in CSV format because they're not so much in the code day to day, but they're still technical, so they could have it in CSV, but or in the X-ray, like with the Jira. I haven't used Jira since I worked at Autodesk, but I know it's still widely used. So I'm
Yeah,
assuming you must have used it when you were at HMM Deutschland, or
yes, there and at my current employer. That's a recent addition. So
oh, okay.
we are using that to track the automatic test runs that we are doing during the night just to make sure nothing was broken by anyone.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we've talked about the project a bit. Why don't we kind of see it in action? If I know you were we were talking a bit before the sorry, let me zoom that back in. Before the live stream. So I'm happy to be thrown into the mix here. You said there was a quick start, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
okay, so why don't are you okay with me going through the quick start? That's probably the best way to kind of demonstrate what things can happen and do.
Yeah, definitely. And I
Okay.
would learn from that where to improve it as well. So that's a nice side benefit.
Okay, yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna leave. I'll split it up half and half, and I'll leave it zoomed in the way it is here. Just gonna close my work here. The beauty of it being open source is it wasn't a big deal that it was open. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So let's create a new project here. Let's go to my dev folder. We'll go streams, and then we'll do stream with Idrinth. Okay. Oh, whoops. Yeah. Would help if I made the directory,
Yep.
and then cd stream. Uh, there we go. Okay, and I'll zoom this in a bit, and I'll just make the terminal a little bigger for now.
Yep.
Okay, that should
So
be
we
good.
have a CLI tool that pretty much sets up the whole thing for you. That is this command. That will
Okay,
actually be simplified soon. So
okay,
you will get it right away. It's pretty much the
okay,
API bench CLI, and you are trying to
okay.
make
Here.
a project.
Okay, so all right, so npm's doing its thing.
Yep.
Um, I have a
It creates the whole
pretty.
structure for you
Okay,
in the background.
perfect. Yeah. Just looking in the chat, ST saying, "Yep, Jira is still widely used. No one could read. No worries. Tiny better." Okay. Cool. All right,
That
so we'll let this go, and I'll just move up this up a bit while that's happening. And cool. Okay, so npm did its thing. Okay, so now I'm assuming I have a folder called iabmp.
you will have a folder called benchmarks there.
Okay. Okay, there we go. And that's the
That's the
project or
default. That's the project. That's the default name.
okay, perfect. So just gonna open this up in VS Code. Okay, and uh, I think it's before we go through things here, I think it'd be good to maybe go through like what we have in the configuration, maybe, or it looks pretty empty right now because I haven't done anything really yet, I guess. But
Yep.
okay,
It
so,
is just creating the structure for you. You can import open API documents with the same CLI tool, for example, and create
okay,
routes. We separated that because we have, I think, 3 or 4 different sources at the moment where you can import routes from.
okay, cool. Okay, so there's pretty standard stuff in here. Sorry, I thought I saw a question in the chat. Yeah, so just config files, like some standard stuff like git ignore, Mocha for testing, NYC. That's for whatchamacallit files.
Istanbul or New York
Yeah,
City for the coverage.
yeah, and then we got our package JSON, obviously. TS config because the project's TypeScript. I think the one interesting thing here that is new to me is this configuration file that you generate or the CLI generates. So um, it's an array of the benchmarking, load testing, and content testing. But is this for config or is this where results get generated or what is it
That
exactly?
is for blacklisting middleware, so that you can use the same tests for test definitions
Okay,
across those test types, but you just blacklist middlewares you don't want to execute because, for example, for load testing, this middleware would take too long to validate.
okay.
You
So
wouldn't. Maybe you just care about the status code when you're load testing, for example.
okay. Uh, question there is how does API Workbench know that something's a middleware or not? You know what I mean? Because like
Um,
if I'm running the API, I'm just saying go to this endpoint and I
you,
pass my payload and then I get my result back.
it's similar. You also pass middlewares to your definition. If you scroll down a bit on the left, you
Okay.
will. Oh, that was my right. Okay.
It's all
You
good.
see what it looks like. You have middleware that is a very, very simple test case
Okay.
with 2 middlewares actually assigned: the user agent and the status 2xx middlewares.
Okay.
The accent before that is just a special meaning that means go to the root o- of the framework. So
Okay.
that you have a couple shortcuts, so it knows where to go to. 3 of them, to be exact.
Okay. That's the circumflex.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you say it in English
So
again?
uh,
Circumflex, I think.
I have no
Uh,
clue.
uh, I learned it in French, so
Same here.
Okay, cool. Okay, so so it's some config to just take out things to not pollute the actual benchmarking or load
Exactly,
test or
and also to make sure that you can reuse stuff.
okay. So if I run npm start right now, I
It will just
imagine
not
not.
do anything
Yeah, because we don't have an API, right? So
because we have no routes.
oh, so yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
did it break off while installing? That is a good thing to know. I'll note that down.
Okay, yeah,
You
it's
are
not
on
finding.
20.
Yeah,
Maybe you need an npm install at the moment. There's no package log.
okay.
Let me just note that down. That is not a good sign.
Yeah, no, I didn't run npm install, but that
That should have
m-
been run by the initial script, to be
oh,
honest.
okay, I got it here. Let's look. There's an npm error. So let's see what that is. It could be a node 20 thing. Let's see. Okay, hold on a sec. Getting to the start here. Okay, so node modules, MS Node SQL V8. So is that for SQL Server? Uh,
That is SQL client. If you use that, it is just it can't
okay.
bind the GUP SQL server.
Oh, the JIP node JIP stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I can switch to. Let me try switching to 18 maybe and see.
2218 will likely not work. It's not
Okay,
guaranteed
let's
at
see.
least.
Let's go to 22 then.
21, 22 should work.
Okay, so node dash v just to make sure. Okay, and let's do it again.
That
Okay,
does
that looks better
look
already.
better.
Oh, oh no, still gave a node jip.
So make
Um,
okay. That is annoying.
let's
Um,
see here. Okay, so it's trying to build a C++ binary or something.
yeah, it's one of the dependencies that is for SQL databases, but I'm not
Okay,
sure which one that is.
okay, so that's okay. First thing I'll say is it's a live stream. Things are never perfect.
Yeah.
um,
Eh,
but yeah,
I actually haven't seen that before, to be honest. But yeah,
yeah, no. It's
it doesn't find node GUP rebuild from the looks of it as as a
okay.
command.
Okay, interesting. So, do you want? I can file an issue right now, and I don't know if you want. We can
Yeah,
try and figure this out on the stream if you want. Like, I know it's not, or do you have? If we want to showcase things, we can also, if you
I
want to
can
share
switch
on your screen.
over.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me a
So,
second. Let me
okay,
just go
I'm
to
just
the
gonna copy this.
examples because then I don't need to rebuild them.
Yeah. Okay. GitHub view. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Okay, let's go to Workbench. API Workbench. Idrinth. There. All right. Let's go back to GitHub. Okay, and in terms of repositories, this should be under the main one or
There
which
is an
repo?
issue repository for all issues, and we take care of the sorting, so you don't need to care about where it is.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, let's zoom this in. Okay, and let's do issues, new issue, bug report, and
That's pretty much the
say,
standard.
yeah, npm install should be able to install the dependencies. I'll put in the log and stuff.
Thank you. I
Let's see
am
here.
ready to share, by the way.
Okay, I'll share that in a sec. So node 20 or node 22. Then we'll see Mac OS and then just get my actual version. Sonoma 14.5. Okay. All right. Well, one good thing that's already happening out of this stream is there. Yeah, I'm on Mac OS ST. Is obviously it's not what you're expecting, but uh, I've found an issue that somebody else is probably gonna run into. So like, it's nice that we're finding these things out. Um, okay. Let's see here. No screenshot, but here is the log from npm install. Let's just put that here. Okay, that should be good. Okay,
So
so I'm just gonna put the steps real quick, and then we'll. I like to report
yeah,
it properly, so
thank you.
uh, okay,
I'm
let's.
pretty confused because actually my examples fails right now.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying to run it as well. That is curious. I can install it, but running it fails.
Oh, interesting. Um.
Yeah, that is
Uh.
not
Okay, so let's see here.
the
Go
intention.
to the quick start. Run.
I believe I have fixed that before because it looks familiar what is an issue I have here.
It could be just it's probably something environment specific. Like I know when I worked at Netlify, for example, like if people would try to run something locally, sometimes it was building um, for like Netlify has a dedicated image service now. But prior to that, like when I was working on the Next.js stuff, we used something called IPX, which came from uh, uh, the Nux team, I think. But like under the hood, it uses a library called Sharp, and Gatsby used to use this as well. And it had to be compiled for a specific environment. So like when you're deploying on Netlify, it's in a Linux environment, but if you did it on Mac, it wouldn't work. So I've definitely seen similar things before.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
just curious because I tested
GD.
that yesterday. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
no, no,
a
I
bit
don't,
scary.
let's see,
That is a bit
benchmark.
scary. Um,
npm install. See the error like below in the logs. Okay, that npm install should be able to install dependencies. Okay, anything else? I'll just say I can link to the live stream on YouTube just to for reference.
thank you.
Uh,
Yep, I got the
here's
wrong version installed. That explains
okay.
a lot.
Here's where it happened on the live stream with at Idrinth. Cool. And oh, would help if I had a title. So bug npm install fails with C++ node jip errors. Okay, there we go. My first issue to the API bench workspace. Okay, cool. Okay,
That's
so you
definitely.
were saying you're having some issues on your end too? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. That is really irritating because I worked yesterday. I tested everything
Okay,
yesterday and I'm not entirely sure what's going on here.
okay,
But it
um,
looks like it's just not running anything.
okay. Um, can
I will
we?
double check.
Okay. I was gonna say for the purposes of the stream, did you want to roll
I can,
back
for the
to an older
purpose
version
for
or?
the stream, I can roll back. That just takes me a minute.
Okay. Cool. And just while you're doing that, I'll just check the chat. Oh,
Sorry about
hello, D3ADY3Y333. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's probably an OS thing. It could be something in the environment. Like this is why people Dockerize or containerize things sometimes. Um, I know I have a bunch of things on. Like I've got Swift on here now. I installed Gleam and Gleam Lang recently because I'm doing a live stream with Jlarky, who's on X.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, okay. The old version works.
okay.
So I can switch over.
Yeah, perfect. Okay,
There
so
is very little difference in between. I just need to double check why it is not running anything and not
okay,
giving an error out. Where
okay.
is the?
If you want to share your screen, just go ahead. There's the little
Yeah, just found it.
okay.
So
Okay,
there
I'm
we
just gonna
go.
copy the link here and I'll bring it into the stream. All right, we are back. Okay, let me just go to studio mode and let's go to get sharing. Okay,
S-
I'm just gonna
So
load
what?
up your screen and resize it to make sure that it fits properly.
Yep.
All right. Okay,
Terribly
seems
sorry
okay.
about that, but yeah,
Oh,
I
no
just
need to
went back
apologize.
to the version that is about a month older.
Okay,
So as you can see, there's two changes in the package JSON, and I
yeah,
will double check why it's not running afterwards.
okay.
Um,
Do you mind just zooming in maybe 2 or 3 times? I'll let the chat decide how much it
yeah,
needs to be zoomed in, but cool. All right. I'm gonna, since you're sharing your screen, I'm gonna bring OBS on my main screen. Okay,
let's try 125%. That is
okay,
usually so. Idrinth
okay,
API bench is the old version. Start is the command that you will run in any case.
okay,
I'm just going to run it for and we in the get started. We are actually testing the single user. That is in
okay,
the example here as well. So
okay. SD in the chat saying if you could zoom in one more time.
of course,
All right. Okay, so yeah, so you're saying so there's a single user test here that you want to run. Is that what we're gonna do?
yeah, that is the test. So that is pretty much the same. It uses the user agent access token because we can log in as well, but we don't
Okay,
have to for this API. But otherwise, it's identical
okay, cool. So for
and a
those
bit
just joining,
old-fashioned.
we've reported an issue. Idrinth and team or somebody in the open source ecosystem will be taking a peek at that. But for now, we've rolled back one version. Everything seems to be working. Uh, it's on Idrinth's machine, so we're gonna just go ahead and demo from Idrinth's machine. So I leave it up to you to guide us the rest of the way of the get start. So
Yeah, so we have a before route that does a login with
okay,
known password and email that is given by the website that gives. We have some auto handling, so everything is converted to JSON in the body, and that's pretty much it. We are
okay,
saving the access token. We're making sure we get a 200 status code of some sort.
okay,
So it is not very complicated. That is, by the way, what most tests look like when you are
okay,
just benchmarking or load testing.
okay,
And then
cool.
we are going to run the whole thing.
Hmm.
Let me just make that a bit bigger. Oh yeah, it doesn't like the size of the screen, but that would that yeah, that is a
Yeah,
bug that
that's
I
because we're
haven't.
zoom.
That's a zoom bug. But yeah, it's technically giving you all the data out here. We also have by default the results CSV filled with within a total of 100 routes that we ran because we set it to 10 threads and 10 repeats per thread.
Okay,
And we get the average times the standard deviation and similar values here.
okay. And it's color coded too, which helps to kind of, in some
That is
cases.
something the IDE does. So
Oh, okay.
I would like to claim that, but honestly, I can't.
Okay.
So
Sounds
that
good.
is pretty much the output here. We have currently the average for 100% of the data and the average somewhere for 80% of the data, which cuts off the extremes. So you can see how much they differ to
Okay.
see how stable your API is. That is something I found very useful over the years. We
Okay, yeah.
may be adding a 95 and a 90% as well at some point in the near
Okay.
future. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's for now it's the 80%
Okay.
option.
Cool.
So maximum, average, minimum, median, and standard deviation is currently what we output. So standard deviation, as you can see, is pretty big in most cases. We're talking about nanoseconds here, and yeah, that's about
Okay.
2 seconds deviation. So something on the other side likely started up and
Okay.
took a while to get started.
Yeah.
With 2 seconds, that's the usual effect.
Okay. For folks who might be new to like benchmarking or load testing and stuff, maybe uh, kind of explain the standard deviation in the context of these tests a bit, if
So
possible.
the standard deviation is a number that tells you how stable your results are. How much do they differ from the average that you have? Usually,
Okay. Cool.
the smaller it is, the better your results are. The bigger it is, the worse your results are because you can't trust them at some point.
Yeah, it's too erratic.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that as well as the 80% rule helps make sure that you can figure out is that actually within a reasonable range or not.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah, SD in the chat saying that it's pretty color coded. So, yeah. Again, Idrinth can't claim it's the project that does that, but I do agree though. It's a
It's very
rainbow of
helpful.
data
Yeah.
that's making me very happy right now.
Yeah, agreed. We
Okay. Cool.
also have the HTML, which is really just an empty HTML that you can open in a browser that gives you the same data.
Okay, in a tabular
It's
format.
just a table because table makes the most sense for that kind of data, and you
Yeah.
also have the JSON, which I think I'll format in a.
Cool.
Let
Awesome.
me just format
Okay.
that.
And so the way you're typically running this is you'll write like a test case for a particular benchmark, and then you'll just
You
rerun
will
npm
run the
start, or
suite. Yeah, exactly. You just run the suite on a regular basis usually and see if anything changed so that you have an easier time of nailing down where the change came from. So in
okay.
my experience, we've usually run that once or twice a day, and it was quite useful to see in which half of the day were the changes that actually broke something, and where do we have a change that might need a second look.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, what I want to show you is this one, the API root URL. This is an environment variable that is automatically injected.
Okay.
It comes from
And
the .env file here
okay.
in this
Yeah.
case, and we are also able to transform it automatically to other types by just adding a comment in front of it. So for example, if I add Boolean, it will fail because now we get a Boolean for the root URL here.
Okay. And
Um,
is that like a JS doc like
Yeah,
syntax
that
from
is
TypeScript?
JSdoc-like. It's
Okay.
not TypeScript related at all. It is just something that even in JavaScript you can get from the function string. So we can parse it out and do the conversions for you, so you don't have to convert stuff. String is default because environment variables are strings by default.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and it
And that,
also takes things into account like defaults. So this would try to convert it to a number, for example.
yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that is
All right.
pretty useful to just save boilerplate code in conversion.
Yeah, totally. And the API root URL is that's a kind of common thing because like, if you hard code it, then it's like, okay, well, we're testing it in another environment now, and then it's like you don't want to have to go through all the code to so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Usual, so things like IDs, API URLs, that is the usual things that you do. Booleans is rare, but they are supported. Um, UUIDs, if you have any, are very commonly different from environment to environment as well.
yeah,
And you would just dump all of those into, yeah, well, the function parameters, so you get them and can use them automatically.
okay. Violence Vine in the chat gave you a whistling orange cat emoji, so I'm gonna assume that's a good thing.
I
The
assume
first
as
time I
well.
see the orange cat, it's the first time I see an orange cat whistling, to be honest. But
Yeah,
I've also never met an orange cat that I didn't like, so I
yeah,
think we're in good company.
yeah.
Cool.
Sounds great. Yeah, so that's pretty much all you have to type those things, and most of that you can generate if you have an Open API document, if you have
Okay.
an HAR, um, for example, that also works. Curl is supported as a source.
Okay.
None of the support is perfect right now. We are still working on improving that, but you can generate a
Okay.
lot of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of Open API, not Open AI, yeah. So that's uh, oh, Open API is what Swagger used to be, but it still generates the Swagger documentation. And uh, this is a side note, but I was listening to our podcast for work, the open source podcast, and BW was I forget the name of the person he was interviewing, but like I used to do a lot of .NET, and he was talking. It was the creator of Swagger. The names escape me at the moment, but
Yeah,
um, it ended up being called Swagger because there was a different definition language at one point called Waddle, WADL, and so like waddle like a duck didn't sound that cool, so like he said like I'm gonna swagger, kind of like swagger walking down the street trying to be cool. So that's that's the origin of the name for anybody interested. I'll find the YouTube about it. But anyways, I thought that was just a fun story. um cool. Okay, so
anything
i,
else
I
that you want to see
I
when we're
guess,
at it?
well, we've got like before and after hooks, I guess, for like test setup and teardown, I imagine.
Yeah, pretty much. It's middlewares that are being run in the end. They are again found by name in that case, so they need to be in the right position. But it's documented on the website as well where you put them and
Okay.
how to access them. And that's just some of the standard ones. We have like 15 or 20 standard ones that do most
Okay.
of the stuff you need.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I guess the one thing I'd say, just because this is a form of testing, obviously, like I know when I started to test, I was very intimidated by testing. I didn't know what to test. And once you figure out what to test, I think the the thing about testing is they just grow over time, right? Like,
Exactly.
it's like write that first unit test or that first end-to-end test. It seems like it's nothing, but like you slowly keep adding more and more, and then that's how you get this mature, you know, test suite. But I think sometimes, like having spoken to some people, they're like it's almost like they need to put in all the tests in one shot, and that's not how it works. And things are going to change over time anyways, right? Like your API is going to change, so
Yeah.
you're going to have to update the tests and stuff. But yeah, I think that's just this is more just like testing in general. But I think just like a lot of things that people will say, like, start blogging, just literally start writing a blog post, just write that first test, and like maybe it's not perfect or whatever, but like you're just starting and starting the test suite, and that's a good thing. So
Yeah,
um
since we talked about a maximum duration that you can accept before, or
okay.
you can actually set a max duration in that case of 1 nanosecond, and you will get an error out. So that is also inbuilt by default
Okay.
already.
Okay, no, that's
So if
super
I run
nice.
that again, this list users will fail every time because yeah, it should
Okay,
fail.
cool.
Wait a moment. Or was that not in the version yet? It's certainly in the current version.
Okay.
I thought it was in that version as well. Maybe I am mistaken.
Okay.
Let me just
um,
see the CSV. No, it's not in that version yet. Sorry, sadly, but it's in the current version, and I will have it fixed by the end of today.
Oh, no worries, no
Set
pressure.
it, but yeah, so you can set a maximum duration that is allowed, and it will error out if it's not. Um,
There's a comment from Tim Wallace, Dev, in the chat. Definitely hard to know what to test at first. Yeah, I can feel that for sure. I think the other thing too is like, I just remember from when I was like very junior and I didn't know what to test. Part of it was because of the way I coded something. Like I wasn't composing things, so it's like you have like these hard dependencies within your functions and stuff, like so like for example, like not passing in the database connection, maybe, so that you could mock it, or maybe like the actual, like I do a lot of React, so like basically props, help you come, pass in the state. So that's a great place where you can actually mock certain things. Like you got to mock to some degree, but too much mocking is not good either. But there's all kinds of things. But yeah, it is definitely hard to know what to test first for sure, Tim. And SC, I found the video. So here's the video about Open API origins. I'll just drop that there. Um, but yeah, and I think the thing with what are some things that you might have seen in terms of like, because like I was speaking more in the context of like unit tests or end-to-end tests, but like with the benchmarks, what are some things that you've seen in based on your experiences, or like people that you've worked with, um, or people using the project, like hey Idrinth, I've got an API, but what do I do? Like what, like what's a good number, or like I'm curious about some of the questions people might
yeah.
have asked you about this.
So the first question I usually get is, what do I test? As you mentioned before, for APIs, it's usually the business critical routes that you test.
Yeah.
So you try to figure out what is the actual things that people want to do with that API, and then you test everything related to that. So you make sure that the core functionality is there. Usually that is just 5 to 10 routes, so it's pretty quick to do. Takes
Okay.
me maybe an hour. Someone with less experience, maybe 2 hours, because in the end the definition is not that complicated, and you can import a lot, which is
Yeah.
with HAR already. Um,
Yeah.
so that is usually the first thing, and then the question comes, how slow can it be? And that is something you need to actually answer for each specific thing
Okay.
separately. That is why, because in some cases users expect it to take a while because it's
Hmm.
complicated from their point of view. Then it's nice if it's faster, but it's not something that is business relevant if it's not. And some, if it's not faster than, let's say, 30 seconds, that happens.
Yeah.
Very complicated backend logic that is expected. But in
Yeah.
some other cases, people just expect it to be fast because they don't see why it would be slow. They can't
Yeah.
understand why it would be slow. And there you obviously need faster things, 100 milliseconds maybe,
Yeah.
150, 200, something like that. And that is something you actually need to clear up with the business. How fast does it need to be? What is the worst possible time that is fine for our end users that we
Yeah.
can work with? Don't ask them for the best possible time, because then you will get 1 nanoseconds or 0 nanoseconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Light speed, please.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But you ask them for what is the worst possible case scenario where people can still work with our software. That's usually
Yeah.
what you're going for. That's the time when you error out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely in the context of something like e-commerce, it's super important because like these slownesses can actually, well, not just e-commerce, but like in the example of e-commerce, it could mean like millions of sales lost every year because like the API was like, I don't know, 500 milliseconds instead of 200. I'm
Yeah,
making something up right now,
yeah. I can
but
tell
yes.
you we had services that suddenly were a minute slower. So by just a small code change. because of side effects that no one expected and no one saw
Okay.
without the right amount of data. So I've seen that happen before as well.
Okay. Yeah. And that this kind of brings it back to the CI/CD pipeline. Like obviously you can't always catch everything. Like you were saying, like maybe the dev data set isn't as big as production, so like some things might not get surfaced, but that's where you learn and improve. But like in general, it's like if you have this something like this as part of your CI/CD pipeline, like other forms of testing, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine to say like, oh well,
Something
this
is
is
off. Yeah.
yeah, and and then and these are the things like it does take time to set up CI/CD pipelines and stuff, but this is where you start seeing the benefits. Like okay, we shipped a week late, but you know what? That's probably better than having shipped like a API call that's like twice as slow now. Uh,
And we are supporting that as much as possible. We have containers for the old version right now. The new version is being built right now.
okay,
That are pre-built for GitLab CI, for Gitea CI, and for usage with any CI.
okay.
So they already exist and they can be used directly
Oh, nice, nice. Um, cool, cool. Yeah. So
because CI is something very important for us. And we are not
yeah,
only
totally.
using it, we think it's also important for everyone else to use and make it easy.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. I guess we've got about 16 minutes left, so we still got some time to chat here. I'm curious about the project in terms of like you're obviously the creator of the project. Do you have a team of maintainers now, or is it still mainly yourself and you have external contributors, or what is I guess the community for for API Bench look like?
Yeah, I'll just switch off the window for now so I can actually see you
Cool.
while talking to you.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. I'll switch us back to just the pairing view here. Cool. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
yeah,
yeah. What's the
so
community like?
we do have a 10 people core team, which ST is
Okay.
part of, for example. So that
Oh,
she
I
is
didn't know that.
excited
That's awesome.
is pretty expected. She's working on a side project of a side project in API Bench, to be honest, and does
Okay.
code reviews, but she's part of the core team in that regard. We have
Oh, cool.
Marika, who's also code reviewing, but she's busy right now. And we have a couple other people who are contributing code as part of the core team.
Okay.
Um, and then there is a community which is around 40-ish people. You can see the whole contributor list on the website if you wanted to, but
Okay.
the point is there is like 40 to 50 people.
Okay. So that's pretty solid, and I think that's great that it's not just you being the maintainer. Like I mean, obviously, like when you start a project, you're typically the main person because it's you who created it. But you know, uh, this kind of touches on all kinds of subjects, but like maintainer burnout, just getting stuff done in a more timely manner too, potentially because there's other people that can help. Um, so no, I think that's great that you've got a pretty decent core team there, and I I guess aside from that, like I don't know if you have a public roadmap, but like curious what your thoughts are on like where do you see like new big features landing in the next year or two, or maybe improvements that you want to just maybe you haven't had time or you're still thinking about what these things could be.
So the next big improvement is for the CLI.
Okay.
That will have one single executable, so you don't need to play around with minus "-p" anymore, and at
Okay.
the executable at the end, um, which will make it easier for most people. Because
Okay.
honestly, you don't expect to have to execute something like that with minus "-p", the project name, and the executable as well. We
Okay.
have
Oh
flex.
yeah, the arguments to it. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see. I see. Yeah.
So that is the next bigger improvement where we are rewriting the CLI in that regard.
Okay.
Um, f- then the Docker containers will also be coming out sometime next month.
Okay.
Depends on who has time obviously, because yeah, it's all part time.
Yeah, no, no, for
We
sure.
work on it and on only free time. Uh, later, we will have the overview of your performance runs
Okay,
as a website with two, yeah, two services, pretty much one front end, one backend service
okay,
that handle all the data from a database and show you graphs. Can send you screenshots, I think, but I don't know where they are.
okay. Oh
Let's
yeah, no
see.
worries, no worries.
But the point is, it's pretty much graphs that show you the standard deviation as well as the average of the specific routes. For example, if you drill down, or the
Okay,
average of the project to see, so that you have a high level overview.
okay. No, that's cool. No, it's good to see that there's other things going on in the project. It's obviously actively being maintained. It's um and I guess is this some I'm assuming this is something you use at your current job as well?
Yes.
Okay,
And
cool.
Jungwild has been nice enough to allow me to do some parts during work time. K-
Okay.
So they are technically a sponsor of some sort as well.
Okay, gotcha.
They are also
Uh,
listed as a sponsor. Um,
Okay. Yeah, cool.
but yeah,
Uh
so yeah, but otherwise, it's the main problem is that currently in the summer everyone is busy of the core team, so we are a bit
yeah.
slower than usual.
Yeah, no, I think that's normal. Oh, hey Bob, thanks for joining us over on YouTube. I see Graham's joined us over on Twitch. I think most people are on YouTube today. It's been interesting. I've been seeing less people on Twitch, but more people on YouTube and on X as well. But LinkedIn, I'm not sure. I have to check the statistics. But anyways, but yeah, no, thanks for joining both of you. We're not done the stream. We're getting close to it. But I do have a hard stop at 1:30 because I have a meeting. But
Yeah,
um, so yeah, just to kind of recap. So we've talked about the project. Oh, hey Angelina, thanks for joining us as well. I'm gonna drop a link to the project again for people to check out. This is the main website. You can check out like the Discord, GitHub, everything there. Um, but super cool project. So uh, to kind of summarize and let me know if I forgot anything here, but essentially API bench is for benchmarking, load testing. It's a content test runner. It's open source, so people are obviously welcome to contribute to it. Um, there's a lot of new things happening in the future. CLI seems to be like a high priority, and it seems to have a pretty solid set of core maintainers. And obviously, over on GitHub, I didn't check, but is the license MIT or what is it?
it's MIT for all
Okay,
projects.
okay, perfect.
We make sure that we don't put anything in that needs us to change the license to be exact.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing in the chat because I told Graham that seems like most people are in YouTube. So Graham went to YouTube, but Bob, who is in YouTube, went to Twitch. So, anyways, thanks for the
Yeah,
follow
I
on
can
Twitch,
see
Bob.
I'm watching. That is, it's
Yeah,
funny, and I
just
do
made me laugh.
recognize the names, so
Yeah, yeah, no,
nice.
yeah. I don't know Bob that well, but I've hung out with Graham a bunch of times, and we did a live like on Spaces and stuff, and we did a live stream. I think it was mid-year last year. But yeah, we should hang out again sometimes on stream, Graham as well. Um, but sorry, I had some Mr. Sandman in my eye there.
All good.
Um,
I
yeah,
hope I'm
I
not
guess.
putting you to sleep.
Oh no, that's not what I meant. It's just I don't know,
Yeah,
sand in my eye. Hey Todd, good to see you too. My main lobster man is in the over on Twitch. It's kind of funny, Todd. A bunch of folks went over to Twitter. Oh, I see to YouTube. I see Bob still on Twitch though. So, anyways, feel free to switch switch chats. Go for it. But yeah, so that's cool that there's a lot going on, and we didn't go into in terms of like the tech that's used, but I mean, I kind of know what it is based on the config files I saw. So TypeScript, obviously. Is there any other main, I guess, dependencies in there that like people should be aware of? Like, there's obviously like Istanbul because of like you had the configuration in there for NYC in terms of like output pass. Sorry, not output, but like test output, like the CSV, the HTML and stuff. Um,
The CLI installs an ESLint config, so you have one by default. That
okay,
is the standard config that we are using. But obviously, that's purely by choice. So you can exchange
okay,
that as much as you want to. It's just what we are using. So you have something to get started with. We
yeah,
do have project. The website, the documentation one is React.
okay,
Um, the one for the historical data for the comparison is Svelte.
okay,
The desktop app we are slowly working on is Vue. Then
oh, okay, interesting.
we have an Angular app that you can guess who is working on that. Uh, just a wild idea, I guess.
Cool,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
we
the
have an
chat's still
Express.
cracking me up.
Yeah, same here. We have Express, we have Fastify in the back end, and yeah, a couple other things as well. So it's a
Okay.
wide range of different tools that we are using. A lot of them also to try them out, but the main focus is always to get something done. And they are all pretty good.
Yes, sorry, I'm laughing at Graham's comment. The problem is I am spending all my time watching the two chats now and not listening anymore. Well, your support is appreciated regardless, Graham. Anyways, uh, I don't know. I think it's a good note to end on with a laugh. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop places where people can give you a follow if they want to, Bjorn.
Thanks.
And yeah, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time out of your day. It's a little later where you're at, I know. But it was great hanging. I know we've been wanting to do this for a while, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Same
Project
here.
sounds super interesting, and yeah, who knows? We'll have to see. Maybe it's something we look at for open source when we're evaluating certain projects for benchmark. I'd have to speak to the team and stuff and see if it makes sense, but it sounds super interesting. So,
Yeah, I'm happy to support as well. And for open sourced, I wouldn't charge.
oh, cool.
So
Wow, that's appreciated.
because I do use that for free as well, and we get benefit from each other. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah, cool. Yeah, no, we'll see what happens. Oh, ST said it got crowded now on YouTube. Yeah, yeah. It's a YouTube chat takeover. So, anyways. Um, cool, cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the live stream schedule if people want to check that out. It's a bit of a busy week for me. So we're hanging out with Bjorn today. I'm hanging out with my old coworker Ridwana Khan on Wednesday. I used to work with her over at Dev2. She's a Rails dev, and she's been digging into. She was at Rails World recently, and she's been working on a lot of the documentation for the Ruby on Rails guides. So we're going to be talking about all that. And uh, Thursday, I'm going to be hanging out with Dylan Mulroy. We're going to be looking into all kinds of things in terms of functional programming. He works over at Vercel right now. So we're going to look into stuff like OCaml and I think Effect TS as well, which I did a stream with the creator of that a little while ago. And then Friday, it's not my own stream, but it's my monthly guest stream on the CFE YouTube. So I'm gonna be doing a live stream to show people how to build a browser extension. Uh, I used to work at McAfee, and I used to work on the password browser extension. So think kind of like 1Password. So I think browser extensions are super interesting. They can be dangerous as well, obviously, but anyways, that should be fun. But definitely busy week for me. And then there's my regular work. So anyways, that said, thanks again so much, Bjorn. Thanks so much for the great conversation in the chat today. Yeah, I worked for Spy Cafe. Graham, yes. Cool, cool. Graham, sorry, not Graham. Bjorn, if you don't mind staying on for a second. Everybody else, Thanks again for the conversations, and we'll see you Wednesday.